Well, you've done very well. You've had months without my ugly face upon your screens, and so I thought now it was time to start punishing you all once again. That's right, the lockdowns are lifted, we're all back at work, and Big Dan Reviews are back in action. Don't blame me, blame Rangerite, who are sponsoring this video. So, let's take a look at what we have in front of us right now. We know you guys have been asking for more PCP reviews, so we have been sent a rather lovely Benjamin Akela. So let's take a look at the rifle's features and see what we may potentially have to look forwards to. Let's get this show on the road. So, features, what do you get with your Benjamin Akela? Quite a lot, I'm quite happy to say. The first thing I'm going to mention, which you guys I'm sure are picking up on, is the stock. The stock is Turkish walnut, and as with most Turkish stocks and such, it is beautifully finished. It really is. The stippling on the side here is really nicely done, and there's even, if I can just bring the camera down here, you can see the Benjamin B has been etched into the underside of the stock here. It is a lovely finished thing. The other thing that's nice about it is it comes with sling studs as standard, and you can also see you've got an insert in here where you can actually put the small weaver rail or Picatinny style rail, which comes with the gun as standard. You can attach it into that little slot in there, so you can basically, you've not got to drill into the stock, you simply fit the rail on there, then attach your bipod and off you go, so you've not got to hurt anything. The other thing I really like from a practical point of view is you can see here, this worried me to begin with. The fill probe is built into the cylinder, which again, some like that, some don't. I quite like it. The bit that worried me is, to me, it looked like the barrel was quite close to the fill probe. So if you use, we use the Artemis K30 compressor. If you use something with a big moisture trap on the end, sometimes with guns with this setup, you can't get your whip on there, which is just an absolute bloody nightmare. With this, however, despite the way it looks, we can quite easily get our whip on there, fill the gun up, so that is not a concern. And again, it's nice that you'll never lose your fill probe. However, not everybody uses a quick fit type filling system. Again, the gun comes with, which is a great idea, an adapter. If you can see that there, a little brass adapter in there between my fingers. So basically, even if you don't use this sort of filling system, you can plug that straight on the end of your whip and then you can use it. I like it. It's a silly little thing, but I really like that. So it's all bases covered. You're pretty much ready to go without having to buy any extras. The other thing I'm going to mention, which I know you all have probably seen coming, thank you, Benjamin. The air pressure gauge is in the correct spot. It is away from that barrel. You know, even the Artemis M16, which is one of my favourite guns, and I do talk about it way too much, but one of my niggles that I had with that, and a lot of the budget PCPs, and not even necessarily the budget PCPs, is when they put the pressure gauge right there. So you're going to accidentally, potentially one day, end up with an unwanted nose piercing when you're checking your pressure. I'll put it that way. Benjamin haven't done that with the Akela. They put it right where it should be, and massive props to them. As you can see, the rifle is a side lever action. We'll talk about how crisp that is to use a bit later on, see what we think of it. The other thing which is worth mentioning is that this rifle, despite being a bullpup, a lot of them don't really come with cheek pieces these days. This one does, and it's a adjustable unit as well. You can slide the cheek piece back, forwards, and raise it and lower it to best suit each individual shooter. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the handling section. The rifle also comes with a weaver style rail on top, so you've got a little bit more of a sturdy mounting to fit your scope, and there is even a power adjuster built into the gun, which is quite an excellent thing to have, especially if you're, say, 1 minute you're shooting in barns, you don't want to risk over penetration, which even in the UK here, that is an issue, especially with 177 rifles. You can whack that down, and again, when you're back out in the field, as long as you know your zeros, you can whack that power straight back up again. We'll have a look at that a bit later on. The other thing I'm going to mention is the trigger, which is Benjamin's match type trigger unit, which can be raised, lowered, spun, you name it. And the thing that I'm really impressed with, and I know it's a stupid thing, but if you watch this channel, you know I quite like stupid things. The safety is right where you want it to be. Well, where I want it to be, I'll put it that way. It's in front of the trigger. It's a manual unit. On a PCP, I think automatic units can get a little bit annoying at times. It's quick and easy to use. Superb. And even in the woodwork there, if you can see that, it's etched which direction obviously does what with the safety. Silly little thing, but I do appreciate the time and effort that's gone into that. The thing that I'm also going to talk about is you get 2 mags with the gun, which is always nice to have. We'll have a chat about how you load them and have a play with them in a moment. You also get the nicest pack of silica gel I think I've ever seen. If Rolls-Royce made silica packs, it would be like this. It's like a little cushion. The other great thing is Rangerite, and again, massive props to them and thanks for sponsoring this review. Rangerite actually test each rifle before it comes to us, which is fantastic. I really do tip my hat to that. That is a lovely piece of sort of backup, shall we say, to have. We still test the guns, clean the barrels and such when it comes to us, but that is really nice that they put that effort out there to get that done, so obviously fewer dodgy guns potentially go out, and any company can do that. It doesn't matter how much you spent. If you bought a day state or an SMKB2, guns will go wrong. So the fact you've almost got this insurance here is fantastic. So thanks ever so much for that, guys. But that's pretty much it for the features of the Benjamin Akela. So let's get the scales out and see if it's a bit of a porker or if it's a featherweight. Right then, so what is it on the scales? As you can see, we've got 7.82 pounds. So not exactly a featherweight. And if I was to give you salesman talk, I'd say it's a sturdy feeling gun, which realistically means it's a little bit heavy for a bullpup. So we now know the weight. Let's talk about handling. However, first, let's take a closer look at those mags. So then, loading the mag, how does this work? Well, thankfully, it's a really simple affair. All you do is grab the plate on top of the mag that you can see here and spin it. And as you're spinning it, you'll feel the spring will be coming under tension. And what you want to do is when you get to this point, just use your middle finger, usually with me, and cover up the hole on the other side of the mag here. So basically when you load the pellet through the top, it doesn't fall out the other side. And what this does, when you load that first pellet, it basically locks the mag in place there. So you can spin this disc on the top and it's completely against the spring's movement, if you see what I mean. So it's a lot more free moving. And then after that, you simply load the pellets in through the top until basically your mag looks like this one I did earlier. The neat feature with this is, as you can see, you've actually got a pellet counter on there as well, which is another nice little added detail what they put into this gun. But overall, that's how you load the mag. Nice and simple, like a lot of other mags out there. And unlike the Artemis guns, you don't need an Allen key or something to bloody poke those pellets home. So we're already onto a winner. Right then, so that's enough of mags. Let's take a look at handling. Let's have some actual hands-on time with the Benjamin Akela. Okay then, so the Benjamin Akela, what do we think of this gun when it comes to handling? Well, I did have one little potential niggle with this, and that was that if you take a look at the gun, the scope rail is actually very close to the cheek piece itself. So what we did was we actually fitted the largest scope that we had on us at the time. This is a Milbro 2020 5-20 by 50 scope, to see if we'd have any potential issues with it. And I'm very pleased to report that no, we don't. The main issue that we thought we was going to have is that basically if you had a large scope, it's going to be punching you in the face because of just how close this rail is. But you won't get scopes that much bigger than this one, at least when it comes to length, and I can get my eye on target really quite nicely. Now, as we said, the cheek piece here is a height and sort of length adjustable unit. For instance, there's a button on the side here where if you give that a little pinch, you can slide the cheek piece forwards and backwards, and it can also be fully removed. There's also a small brass screw, hopefully you can see at the back here. If you lighten that up just a little bit, you can then adjust the height of the cheek piece like so. So you can see there it's been raised a little bit, so it's a nice little feature. You can actually basically spec the cheek piece on this to hopefully fit pretty much everyone. What I will say is I do have a very fat head, so on its lowest setting, although I do have a clear sight picture, it's not quite ideal for the way that I'd want it to be. I could shoot and hunt with this, but to me it feels like it could just be just a tiny little bit lower. Now the good thing about that is that this cheek piece is indeed removable. You do have to fight it just a tiny little bit, but you can, I told you had to fight it a little bit, you can wiggle that clean off of there. And now, you see you've got another rail here. You can get your cheek on there, and I have got a perfect sight picture right now. So if you do have issues, again, obviously you can also get raised mounts, which means you can still use the rail back here, or the cheek piece I should say. But if you do have an issue getting your eye on target, take that cheek piece off, and it's actually genuinely not bad at all, just putting your cheek on this here. The main thing you'll notice is it is cold. But let's talk about the action now. One thing we didn't mention in the features section is that this actually also has a baffled shroud, which we're going to have a little listen to and see if that's any good. The other thing I like is the action itself. Watch this, little finger. That is just pure silk, it really is. The mag that we loaded earlier, simply you've got a groove in the mag here and a groove in the action itself. Hopefully you can see that. You simply load it from right to left, lining the grooves up, and just as simple as that, it slides straight in. close the bolt, and you're pretty much ready to go. So let's have a little listen now. I'm going to switch the safety off. Again, the safety is bloody perfect. Please, other PCP manufacturers, make your safety like this. And let's just have a little play with that trigger and have a listen and see what we think. Mouse's fart quiet is what that is. Let's just have another go just so you can have a better listen. You can see their little finger cocking. A little bit of resistance as it pushes the pellet back in, but to be fair, these are flatheads, so it just might not agree with the mag too much, as is the case. So let's just have a listen. That is seriously sweet. There's a little bit of spring reverberation coming from the hammer spring back here. To be fair, there is nothing coming out of this end. It's just a, and that's it. It's even quieter than that. The trigger is also seriously sweet. I've not touched this. This is in as the box or out of the box condition. And let me see, I'll show you what it's like. It is basically, at this moment in time, there's a tiny little bit of resistance. Hang on, maybe if I do it this side, if you can see my trigger finger, there's a tiny there. I can feel the second stage, and you can see my finger bouncing off of it there. There's a second stage there, and then just the tiniest little extra pull, and off she goes. That is seriously sweet. That really is, and it's predictable as well, which is the main thing you want, obviously, with a rifle trigger. So far, I've not really got any major complaints. I mean, the balance, even with this big stupid scope on top, is actually really quite nice. It might be, no, it's hard because the shape of the stock to show this. I don't want to drop the thing, it's too beautiful for that. This balance is about spot on. I can feel it in the grip at this moment in time. It's just, in general, it's a lovely bit of kit, it really is. Obviously you've got the power adjuster on the side here, and you've also, there's a little diagram here which will show you if you're on full power or if you're not. Hopefully you can see that. It's a little bit awkward to show off. But overall, I'm a very, very, very happy chappy with this. Let's have one last little go. There you go. That was much easier, so I'm beginning to think it is maybe the pellets we're putting through it, which is making it maybe a little bit notchy just to close the bolt. So another go. Second stage. Beautiful. No creep, no nothing. You feel it and pop, off she goes. That is an absolutely stunning piece of kit. It really is. At least to hold and shoulder. We've so far still got to check for consistency and accuracy downrange, but so far, well done, Benjamin. You can colour me impressed. That is a lovely, lovely bit of kit. So let's move on next to the chronograph section. Let's see how many shots we do get per fill. Okay then, so it's chronograph time. We've got the chrono all prepped and ready to go. We're going to be using the RWS Superfilled pellets in 2.2, which you can see there hopefully on camera. They're about 15.9 grains. They're straight from the tin, but the RWS pellets are usually pretty damn good when it comes to weights and such like that. You might notice the actual test might take slightly longer, or there will be a delay between shots. That's simply because the rifle does not come with a single shot tray, so we're going to have to refill the mags each and every time. The rifle has had a fresh fill. Maximum fill is 3000 psi, as you can see there, which equates to around 200 bar. Now the interesting thing is that the Akela is not a regulated gun, so we're going to see exactly where the sweet spot is in this pressure range and see when consistency starts to bleed off or give up. So it's going to be an interesting little test. Right then, so let's get everything all set up and ready to go, and let's start chronographing. Okay then, so consistency test over, and you can paint me very impressed. We had, going off memory, around 60 full power shots with a spread of only 8 FPS, going pretty much throughout all of that. It was 8 or 11, something like that. Standard deviation throughout all those shots at that time was only 2 feet per second over 60 shots. And like we said, that's an unregulated gun. Now, there was definitely a power curve. You can see, I think it's about the 60th shot onward, if I just pan that down. You can see the power did slightly start to drop off just a tiny little bit before gently picking itself back up again just a smidge. Unfortunately, shot 85 I think was a bit of a duff pellet because it's just a random one that dropped to 10.57. Other than that, the rifle seemed to pick itself back up again and get to the 10.9s, even the low 11s again, before we got to about the 100, let's say 100th shot, to be fair. 100th shot, and then things did then start going downhill. The impressive bit is that I think when we got to the 100th shot, the spread was about 26, going off memory, 25, 26, which we've had regulated guns that at 100 full power shots have had a similar spread to that. I would actually say that up to 60 shots, this is probably the single most consistent PCP that we have tested on this channel. That's impressive, seriously impressive. You've basically got 100 usable, well, yeah, 100 usable shots from what we can see here. I'll just get that a little bit more in the light for you. Hopefully you can see that. The lighting is terrible today. Let me pan it across this way a bit. Right, so you can see there we had about 100 full power shots before the power started bleeding off. The rifle went for about 11.5 to about 10.8 feet-pounds within this shot span. The power originally started coming down at about 2,500 psi. At that point, it sort of sat at about 10.9 to the very low 11s, 10.8 to low 11s, until we finally got to, let me just check it, it's next to me now, pretty much bang on 2,000 psi. The power then started to drop off, as you can see if I pan it up a bit more. You can see there the power drops off and doesn't really come back. But overall, I am an incredibly impressed boy right now, shall we say, because that is ridiculous for a gun without a reg. In fact, Mr. Robert Lane, if you haven't made a regulator for this yet, please do, because this, with an aftermarket reg in it, would be the absolute, I was about to say something rude, but I won't, because there may be kids watching, but you knew what was coming out of my mouth. The dogs, yeah. Overall, very impressed. But consistency doesn't mean anything if it doesn't translate into accuracy. So let's get the targets out and let's see what the thing can do downrange. However, before we get to the accuracy segment of this video review, we did say we was going to take a look at the power adjuster. So the rifle has been loaded with the 15.9 grain RWS superfilled pellets. And what we're going to do is we're going to have two shots just to remind us what the rifle's doing at full power. So we're going to have two shots now, just to get an idea or a bearing as to what the gun gives us. So here we go, this is full power, 11.51, one more, 11.43, so pretty consistent. We've got a spread of only two there. So what we're going to do now is, with the dial on the side of the gun that we showed earlier, we're just going to twist that back anti-clockwise, so now it is on its minimum setting. So I'm just going to cock that one more time, and let's see what difference it makes with the power adjuster on its lowest setting. So here we go. 6.1, so that's a spread of 155 FPS already, or about the same as a GAT gun. So let's go again. 6.23, so pretty damn good. Now for an experiment, let's go in the middle now. So we're sitting perfectly between full and half power. Let's see, how many pellets have we got left? We've got 3 pellets left. And let's have a little experiment with this and see just what you get if you stick it in the middle. So here we go. 10.92, so definitely a lot lower than full power. One more time. 10.92 again, pretty impressive. And final pellet, oh no, that's it. That I believe is the last pellet. So you can quite clearly see there, or hopefully you can, as you can tell we're doing this in real time. Full power, you are definitely getting the full beans, 11.51, 11.43. Low power, you've got about 6 feet-pounds, which is going to be absolutely superb if anyone's got any indoor sort of ratting permissions, close range stuff, where you don't want over penetration, which you will get at close range even with a 2.2. It's absolutely superb. And obviously if you want to close the distance and obviously limit the over penetration as much as you can set the power, say midway, or maybe even 3/4 of a turn back to minimum power. Apologies, that's a cattle float that's just gone past. And the gun, hopefully you can set it for pretty much every single scenario. So we can quite clearly see that the power adjuster definitely does the business. So then, with this out of the way, let's get the targets out and let's see what the gun can do. So then, here we are at the shooting range, we could say. Hopefully you can see our little target stood up down there. I will be sat just over here shooting off of our Dora the Explorer backpack. Hopefully you can see that back there. The other thing I'm going to mention, which I'm very excited about, is the blue trailer blocking off the 40-yard range is gone. So we're going to have a few shots at 25 yards and then we're going to have a few shots at 40 yards. Now when it comes to the wind, there is a bit of a gust sort of coming from the range area. Hopefully you might be able to see the dock leaves and such blowing over there. So there is a little bit of wind to contend with, but hopefully it shouldn't interfere with our shooting too much. So I'm going to have a few shots with a few different tins of pellets, see which ones it groups best with, and we'll record the best group that we get. So then, let's move on, and when we're done there, we're going to put the target all the way back there. So let's have a bit of fun. Hello everyone, apologies for the mess. Just a little quick update before we do the 40-yard shooting. We usually move the table out to the range sort of area here, so as we've got an unobstructed view of the target. You can probably see there that it's quite difficult, shall we say, to get guns on target when you're shooting from here. Thankfully, however, we have a perfect rifle rest in the shape of a digger bucket, so we're going to be leaning off of that instead. And if you can see here, it's pretty much bang on with our standard sort of shooting area anyway. What I'm actually putting this little video out here for first is that the target, if you can see that there, is slightly obscured by grass. Now I'm not sure if the grass is covering the bullseye or not, and I'm going to keep the 0 the same way it was, but what I'm actually going to be doing is on these targets, you can hopefully probably see there you've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the card. I'm just going to aim at the 1 here, so if don't be alarmed basically if you see the pellets are going high. It's simply because I'm aiming high to potentially avoid the grass and such like that. So we'll crack on with this, see what the gun can do at 40 yards, and see how lucky I'm feeling today. Let's crack on with it. So our accuracy test results, what do we think? Well, I'm pretty damn impressed, especially when you consider that this gun hasn't even had an entire tin of pellets for it yet. You're talking probably a max of about 250 pellets, if that, in its life. Well, 25 yards, we've got the big down flyer raises its hideous little head once again with the shot just going low and left. But we've got the other, I believe, 9 shots going in one very neat little hole just here. Let me just zoom it in for you. You can see just how big my fingernail is next to it. So that's easy. If you're in the UK, that will fit under a 5p piece, no problem at all. Pay no attention to the holes you can see here. As you can see, this is they're sort of coming out like a chest burster in Alien sort of thing. This isn't pellets going in, this is pellets or squashed up pieces of pellets, mushroom pieces coming back. So obviously we'll discount these. 40 yards, things got really interesting, and it goes to show the importance of checking your 0 at all ranges, especially if you're going hunting, because if we just show the 25 again, you can see the grouping is just off to the right of the bullseye. Now at 40 yards, that just to the right of the bullseye is here. Again, we was aiming at the 1, not at the bullseye, just obviously because of the distance and the grass, but you can see the pellets are impacting here. But either way, that is a very impressive group. It's not going to be a 5p group. I reckon you'll just about get this corner and this little corner poking out instead of hiding under the 5p, but 20p, no problem at all. Unfortunately, Big Dan's an idiot and he forgot to bring some coins with him to prove this fact, so apologies. I'll put it this way, there's my thumbnail next to it, or my thumb, and you can see it's pretty much roughly the same width of a rather large man's thumbnail. So if that's any bearing for you, you're welcome. But accuracy wise, I am a very, very happy chappy. The other thing that I noticed as well when we're actually on target and aiming and shooting the gun properly, There's two things that I really like. One of which is, although the rifle is pretty much a full-on bullpup, you can cock this, or I can at least, cock this without having to either lower the rifle or use the left arm to reach around it and cock it that way. You can quite easily cock this whilst keeping the gun on target, so that's a massive plus for hunters. The other thing I'm going to say, if you're not into lighter guns like I'm not, that weight that you get with this is fantastic when it comes to holding the thing still. The overall dimensions of the gun and the stock and such, I mean the grooving here for your fingers to fit through, it is fantastic. It really is. I can hold this thing very steady and on target, which I can't say about a lot of bullpup PCPs. As you'll know, the Artemis P15 and such, and the I believe even the Kozak FC, going off memory, I seriously struggled to keep that thing not still, but it was just not to my tastes. This is perfect. If you like a heavier bullpup, this is the one that I definitely recommend having a play with. But accuracy wise, from me, it gets the absolute full seal of approval. I am a very, very happy chappy with that, especially considering I don't shoot 2.2s, especially not at 40 yards. So there's a little bit of, we'll say there's user error in there as well. I'm not too proud to admit that. But that's accuracy testing out the way. So let's move on to final verdict and see just what we think of the Benjamin Akela. So then, the Benjamin Akela final verdict. What do we think? First thing I'm going to mention is apologies if things look a little bit dusty. A certain someone turned up and took a load of logs out of the corner here and sprayed dust everywhere. So if you want to complain, send a letter to the uncle. I'll put it that way. But Akela, what do we think? Well, first off, we're going to start with the negatives, as we usually do on this channel. As we always say, no gun is perfect, and I can nitpick about something. First thing I'm going to say is the weight. It's not a featherweight bullpup. If you're looking for something like that, a P15 is going to be noticeably lighter. Same with the P35 that's just came out and such like that. It's not a ultra heavyweight gun, but there is some heft with this. It is balanced nicely. The weight is basically straight on this grip, which is absolutely lovely. But other than that, it's a bit of a heavy gun. The other thing I'm going to mention is if you have a larger head, this cheek piece, for me, is too high. To get a genuine good bit of eye alignment with this, I have to take that off. That being said, the accuracy testing that we did was actually done with this attached, which does go to show, hopefully, that even with this on there and not with ideal sort of sighting conditions, you can still shoot the thing bloody well, which is a testament to the gun's overall accuracy. Other than that, I will say the shroud does mark quite easily. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is dust on it at the minute. I don't want to touch it too much, but there's a couple of tiny little marks in there, and I've got no idea where they've come from. It does mark a tiny little bit. Maybe I'm a bit heavy-handed without knowing about it. I don't know, but it's worth mentioning. Other than that, that's it. That is genuinely pretty much it. I mean, yeah, I can't think of anything else. If I've mentioned something previously and forgotten about it, I do apologise. Oh, there's no regulator on board, which might upset some who like to tinker and tweak regulators and things like that. I'm sure that probably in the future there will be an aftermarket regulator for this that will fix it. And granted, you can get cheaper guns than this that do come with regulators, like we said, the P15, the say some of the other Artemis guns, you name it, sort of thing. They basically do exist. But saying that, this gun, if I'm honest, talking now into the positives, it doesn't need a regulator. We had 100 full power shots out of this before it really started running out of puff. Again, I think it was 100 shots, it was doing around 11-ish foot-pounds average. It was only really starting to drop below that when we started getting above the 100 shots, where it then fell off really rapidly. So it does really hold its air quite well. And that's from only a 200 bar fill as well, 3000 PSI, about 200-ish bar. So that is impressive. The cylinder isn't even that big, for crying out loud. It's a very good gun. Consistency-wise even, it was exceptional. If you was to compare this, I bet if we went back and took the results from each and every PCP that we've tested on this channel, I bet this is the most consistent out of all of them. And we've tested some pretty damn good guns. I mean, we've had the M16, the Hortizia, some of the other Zabora bits and bobs, you name it. And this, I'm quite confident, up to 60 shots at least, has spanked all of them. Simple as. Now, the thing that I love the most about this gun, which surprised me, is actually the handling. As you'll know if you've watched this channel before, you will know that I'm not massively a fan of bullpups. They don't suit me. If you're a bigger chap with longer arms, you've got to sort of fold yourself up to keep the damn thing on target, especially if it's too light, at which point you're not only folding yourself up, but the thing's practically trying to float away. it doesn't, how can I put it? There's no weight there to sort of absorb what tiny little wiggles you might have as you're trying to aim. This does not have that problem. The finish on this gun and the way that it handles is phenomenal. It really is. The weight is basically in this grip here. It's pretty much perfectly balanced in the grip. When you shoulder that, you can hold it so bloody still. It's just a lovely finished thing. The other thing that I really liked about it is the, I might have already mentioned it, but the side lever on the rear here, obviously you can't see it, it's on the other side. The side lever on the rear here, it's not like a full-on bullpup where you have to lower the rifle each time to cock it. You can cock this with your right hand while staying on target. It is just that little bit long enough so as you can cock it perfectly. And again, this is for coming from someone with longer arms, which it probably should be more awkward for than someone with more normal length arms on them. Handling wise, I've been blown away. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I do like this gun. It would be even better, don't get me wrong, if it had a spring in there. If it was a Springer, superb. But it's a bullpup and I actually like it. And that hurts a little bit to confess to, because usually I always used to say, and my previous customers, you've heard me say this, we can get you a bullpup, but why not just go like sort of the carbine route? That was why I quite liked the Hortizia, because you could pick a carbine version of it. Job done. Shoulder's better than most bullpups. It's more rifle size, but maneuverable. No, this is fantastic. When it comes to actual performance-wise, we've already gone over obviously the shot count and consistency and such, which was basically A+. This would embarrass many very expensive guns when it comes to just how consistent it was before it finally then started bleeding off. Accuracy-wise, again, very, very impressive. As you can see here, 10 shots, I believe, 1 going off. That's mainly the tip pulling the trigger, not the gun itself. And we've got 9 shots in this very neat little cluster here. After this, we went 40 yards, as you'll know. It does definitely open up a bit. We was aiming at the 1. It does definitely open up just a little bit, but it is still a very nice and tight group. And again, bear in mind, I don't usually shoot at 40 yards. In fact, if I'm telling you the God's honest truth, I haven't actually really long range shot a gun in probably 6 months. So there is a bit of user error in there as well. But the point I'm making is, even so, that is bloody impressive. It really is. Pellets of choice, obviously, as you can see there, is the JSB Exact Jumbo Diablo, 15.89 grain. But in general, I am quite smitten. I'll admit that here and now. Range right, I knew that the gun was going to be pretty good. I'll just tell you just a little bit of backstory as to these reviews. I usually, when we're having a sponsored review, I will say to the supplier that, yeah, I'll do it if you want me to, but just bear in mind, I am going to tell my honest opinion about this, warts and all. If you don't want me to do that, you don't send me the gun. Simple as. And Range Right were more than happy to comply with that. And now I can see why. So yes, you win this round, Range Right, but I'll get you next time, I'm sure. It's a cracking bit of kit. I don't want to sound like I'm overselling it and do the salesman thing, but for a £600 gun, you get a gun that is genuinely, it's possibly one of the only genuinely pretty looking bullpups on the market. You've got a walnut stock that is lovely the way it's been finished and little extras on there. It's got every extra accessory that you could ask for. The only thing it's missing is a bloody sling to go in these studs here, which come as standard. And for 600 quid, I mean, you could almost technically still call it a budget PCP. But look at the thing and look at what it can do. Anyways, I don't want to drag this on any longer. I don't want to kiss the gun's backside too much because obviously me being an RFD or firearms dealer, I know how it sounds and looks, so I'm going to back off now. All I'm going to say is a humongous thank you to Range Right for giving us the opportunity to review this gun. Range Right, if you're someone thinking of getting into the firearms dealer trade in the UK and such, or if you're looking for more information on the, say, the Kral range of rifles, Wolfers, Benjamins, Umarex, you name it, they're the guys to get in touch with straight away. And again, if you're thinking about getting into this trade, I definitely highly recommend getting in touch with Range Right. They are a cracking bunch of guys and gals around there, and they are an absolute pleasure to deal with. And even if you've got questions about shotguns and rifles and such, they also import the Sabatti rifles and things like that. So they've got a lot to offer, I'll put it that way. But no, thank you ever so much for the opportunity to review this gun, and thank you ever so much for watching, everybody at home. I hope this year ends up being a better one for you. We're pulling our fingers out of our backsides now, and we're starting with the reviews again. Now all the lockdowns and such have been more or less lifted. It's back to the grinder, as they say. So we're going to get another gun reviewed as soon as this one's on air, so hopefully you won't be waiting too long. I'm not going to say which one it is yet, but it is going to be another PCP, and it is going to be another budget one, actually considerably cheaper than the rifle in front of you right now. So As we've already said, thank you ever so much for watching. If you're interested in trying a Benjamin Akela or interested in ordering one, as we said, we do test every single gun before it leaves us, and we'll send you all the test details, chronograph report. We'll even clean the barrel for you if you want. So get in touch with us if you're interested at bigdansairguns.co.uk. And take care, everyone, and have a great night or morning, depending on when you're watching this. Take care.